Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the fun and action-packed Multifamily Investing Academy's podcast. I'm your host, Charles Dobbins, the multifamily attorney. And today I have a good friend of mine. I was on his podcast. He's now on my podcast. His name is Bill Manassero. Now, Bill is the host and the top dog of the Old Dogs, D-A-W-G. He obviously doesn't know how to spell. REI Network, a blog and a weekly podcast for people 50 and over. Now, Bill, you may not know this, but I'm actually 72 years old. So I don't know if your stuff is going to apply to me.
Well, you don't look like a day over 70, really.
Well, thank you very much for that. You know how the people say you're only as old as you feel? I'm only as old as I say I am.
Yeah, then I must be 90 years old here.
Exactly. So he's the expert on people over the age of 50 who are using real estate as a means to fund their retirement years and create a legacy for their children and grandchildren. Now, Bill's goal is to own over 1,000 doors, 1,000 units in less than 6 years. So he's obviously come to the right place with the Multifamily Investing Academy. Now, prior to starting up the REI Network, the Old Dogs REI Network, Bill and his family were missionaries to orphaned, abandoned, and at-risk children living on the streets of Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Now, the only difference between that description and my children is the section that says living on the streets of Port-au-Prince. The other ones are abandoned and at risk. Those describe my children, too. They like to think so. Prior to Haiti, he was a professional musician. What instrument did you play, Bill?
Guitar, piano,
okay.
voice.
Okay, Bill, I actually just came from my piano lesson.
No way.
Oh, yeah.
We got to jam,
Well, listen, I'm learning about, the 1-4-5 chords and I'm
Yeah.
really at the jamming stage yet. I'm at the more, you describe it almost as the hunt and peck, but I absolutely love it. I got a phenomenal teacher. The guy is great. So, and then let me see on a few highlights of his career include meeting Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
Two of my college roommates did that as well. And then also working with an absolute star of mine, hero of mine, Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah, he's my main man. He's an amazing human being. Yeah.
He used to fly B-17s, I believe. Were they B-17s? I think he flew, or B-24s. I can't remember. Man,
Yeah.
he did it. He didn't, he didn't pull the Superman, the superstar card.
Yeah.
That's also cool. You got interviewed by the Oprah. And CNN did a documentary on your work down in Haiti. That is so cool. Well, welcome, Bill.
Well, Charlie, this is great to be here, man.
I just have to warn you. And obviously, the fact that you're a missionary, faith and a faith, all this stuff. For the sake of the record, I said that nothing on my podcast ends up on the editing room floor. Everything gets produced. And that's not because Deb is lazy in the editing component. It's just like, no, it's like we say what we mean. We are First Amendment wonks. You say whatever you want. And I think that this is going to be a lot different than my earlier podcast with Mitch Stephen. I know Mitch. I'm ripping Mitch a little bit there, so he can take it. He can take it.
Yeah.
So, very good guy. So welcome aboard. All right, now let's talk about. I think it's so cool when you're talking about helping these people over 50 understand how they can get started in this field, because I'll tell you, the majority of my students in my owner forum program are probably 45 to over 50 easily. And it's all because, they didn't set money aside earlier. They're playing catch up. They're looking for a way to leave a legacy. And that, you talk about leaving a legacy, and real estate's a phenomenal legacy. I tell people, if I had it right here in front of me, that my father was a New York Life agent for 57 years. And, he was top producer, did incredibly well. But when he died, my sister, brother, and myself, we got some form of refund or renewals off his block of business. So every month we get a check from the 57 years of my father's work with New York Life. And last week I received the monthly check. Guess how much it was, Bill?
For $40,000.
Probably $91. Okay, which means my brother got one and my sister got one as well. Listen, I'm not faulting my father. My father,
Right.
but when you work for a company, you don't leave a legacy.
Yeah.
You don't. I mean, real estate is what, and then I liken him to, the millionaire egg farmer, John Dobbins, who, started off with a duplex and built up to 150 units before he passed away. All his kids are millionaires, and they are, all set up with trust funds from the real estate that he put together. It's just real estate is the solution to so many problems as long as you do it right.
Yeah,
Bill,
you got that part right. That's it. Yeah, doing it right is important.
Key.
A lot of people jump in, they don't really know what they're doing, and then they end up, they end up, I hate it. I don't like the toilets,
that again,
crash, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
good point.
Crazy. So all right, tell me about the Old Dogs Network.
Well, okay, man. This is, I started kind of later in life here. I mean, I literally had not invested in real estate. I came from the corporate world. I was also an entrepreneur. I was financial services, automotive industry. I did a lot of different things. And then, later in my life, we were called in the mission field. So we went out and just took a leap of faith, and is whole different thing. And prior to that, I was a professional musician. So we did a lot of different things. And in that process, especially as I was in Haiti, the greatest years of our lives. I mean, absolutely amazing. The hardest, it's kind of like the Charles Dickens, the best of times, the worst of times. We had attempted kidnapping, we had dengue fever, malaria, we were shot at, we had all these things, but then the people there are so beautiful and the kids are so special that we loved it there, and we wanted to stay there forever. But as time went on, my wife got cancer. We had to come back to the States. She is perfectly healed now. Thank you.
Good.
Just really wonderful. And but we went right back to Haiti right after. We went to the States for just a short 6-month period during her cancer treatment. And but as we're getting older, we've got 7 kids. We got a lot of kids, and so two of our kids were.
I mean, Bill, do you have television? What is wrong with you, man? I have 4 kids, and I think I made a huge mistake. It's like not to quote an old comedian who should not be quoted. He said, I have 4 kids. You know why? I don't. What did he say? He's like, oh, I can't remember. Something about why I don't have 5 kids. Oh, I can't remember now. And it was Bill Cosby, so I'll pass on that one. Anyway,
okay.
I'll remember what the line was.
That happens to me on my show too. I call them old dog moments. They're special.
Oh yeah. All right, that's better than the senior moments. Yeah. Oh, but did you hear the? Oh, I got to tell you this joke. This joke is a comedian on TV, and I saw him, and I guess he's pretty famous. I've never heard him before, but I heard this one joke. He said, I live next door to a 90-year-old man who suffers from Alzheimer's. And every day he knocks on my door at 9 a.m. and asks me the same question. Have I seen his wife? And every morning at 9 a.m., I have to inform him that his wife passed away years ago.
Oh.
Now, I've thought about moving, and I've thought about not answering the door. But honestly, seeing the smile on his face every single morning just makes me smile. I told that joke when I was speaking out in Cleveland. Deb was there. She says, I don't like that joke. I'm like, are you kidding? That joke is brilliant. Oh, yeah, okay, fine. Well, don't make it a man that knocks on the door. Make it a woman that knocks on the door and she can't find her husband. I said, okay, fine. I'll do that.
Now I know why they call you the Don Rickles of
exactly.
investing. Okay, you're the guy. So I forget what I was talking about.
I'll get back to it. I remember.
Oh, okay,
an old dog moment.
I know you got that.
Hold on, let me rewind the tape. Okay. No, but yeah. Anyway, all right. So let me get back. So you had 7. No, we were talking about 7.
Oh yeah, 7 kids. 7 kids.
Talking about your lack of cable. Okay, go
right?
on.
Hey, we're, I'm Italian. My wife is Cuban. It's a Latin thing, really. Okay?
Exactly.
And
Come on. Come on.
okay.
I love the woman. It's like that famous Groucho Marx line. Guy was on. How many kids do you have? I have 7 kids. And Groucho says, 7 kids? And the guy says, hey, I love my wife. And Groucho says, I love my cigar, but I take it out every once in a while.
Oh,
And that got past the censors in 1950. Yeah. All right. Go on.
okay. All right. So we went over there. We went over with 3 kids. Okay. And 2 of our kids are older. And so they stayed, they have families. And so they stayed in the States. This is when I went over to Haiti. And
Okay. So you had 5 kids at the time.
5 kids at the time. When we came back to the States, we picked up a couple extras in Haiti. So we've got 2
Like stored them in the wheel well of the airplane or something? What
Yeah.
you do? Come in. Let's tell you adopted 2 kids over in Haiti.
Adopted 2 kids in
Let me
Haiti.
tell you something. That must have been hard. That must have been hard. Is like, how do you choose 2 of them?
And there's
That must have been really challenging.
yeah, that was a God thing. God just brought him. We knew it, at the time. It was, but we had a little girl actually that was brought to our doorstep. All we had when we got there was a boys' home, just orphan boys, and so this lady brought this girl, and we said, we can't, we can't take her. We don't have a girls' home. We have a boys' home, and the mom was really upset, and she, was afraid the child was going to die, and there was a bad situation at home, and all these things, And so we said, well, we know somebody that has an orphanage, and basically, we talked to this other person that had the orphanage, and she was going to stay there, and while and then eventually be adopted out, but they were filled up, so they said, well, you're going to have to take the little girl back, and the mom was just really upset, and she goes, I can't, it's not safe for her at the house and stuff. So we said, well, she could stay with us. Okay, well that was the end of that story, right? I mean, she ended up staying with us.
Now graduating from medical school, and
And our kids fell in love with her, and we all fell in love with her, and she just ended up adopted her. And then the other one was a situation where there was some people that had a orphanage, and it was imploding, falling apart, and we were grabbing kids to help sort of rescue them. I mean, it was just a really sad sight. I mean, kids laying in their own feces, and just
my
horrible place. And they had a lot of special needs kids with hydrocephalic kids, with the large heads and stuff. And so we were just bringing them into our orphanage just so they had a place to stay in the interim while we find out, who these kids belong to, and all the other factors. And all these kids we found places for, and they had good places for them to go. And then we just everybody's gone, and we're all going, wow, that was a long couple of weeks. And then there's this little kid just sitting over there in his diapers, going, who's he? I don't know. Anyway, so that's how we got the little boy.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was quite an adventure while we were over there, and
Wow.
but wonderful adventure.
Oh, that's great. Bravo. Well played, Bill. Well played.
So anyway, I got older. I was trying to work toward this story. As I got older, kids are growing up. They're leaving, go back to the States, and I'm kind of looking at this reality of, okay, here I am. I'm approaching 60. What am I going to do? I'm going to go back there and go collect seashells down at Laguna Beach or what? I've got too much. I'm pretty hyper, and I can't even think about retirement. It wasn't a reality for me. So I'm looking at all my options. I'm going, okay, well, first off, should we leave here? Because we have this big thing set up, and we were praying about it. We said, well, let's go back for a 1-year sabbatical, and while we're doing that, we'll make a decision whether we're going to stay or not. And while we were on that 1-year sabbatical, my wife's parents took ill, and we just kind of stepped in to care for them, and we realized, that maybe this was the time to stay. And in that process, because both my parents had passed away while we were there, and I kind of missed that time of their life. That's one of the hard things about being in the mission field is, just the family that you don't get to see or be with. So I said, no, we're not gonna leave your parents. We're gonna stay here. And that's what she wanted, and that's what we ended up ultimately wanting to do. We found some great people to step in for us. So our ministry is still going on there, and we've got great kids, and everything's great. But we're back here, and so. But while we were kind of deciding on the sabbatical, I'm going to go. What am I going to do? I'm 6 years old. I'm not going to walk around with my resume. And I was in like advertising, marketing, and nowadays, I mean, they don't even have any of the stuff. We used to take these ad slicks and we'd put wax on the back of them and stick them on a board, and everything's digital, everything's social media. I don't know. So I'm just kind of going. I'm not going to do.
Well, let me ask you this, Bill. When you went to Haiti, what was the exit strategy?
We were just going to stay there.
Really?
Forever. That was kind of, that's what we were ready to do. We were prepared to do that.
Okay.
I think God had different plans. And so that changed things around. And so I wasn't, we lived on faith. So I didn't have a big retirement. I had a, 401k a self-directed IRA that I had, from the corporate world I'd contributed to. So we had some retirement funds, but it wasn't going to really last us for the duration. And so, so I'm kind of looking at this, and I get this unexpected inheritance check, and I'm kind of going, well, I was also in tech, very heavy into technology as part of my corporate world. And in that, I know a lot about tech companies. I had a lot of tech stocks, and I've pretty heavily vested in the stock market. But it was real volatile at this time, and I was kind of looking at the market. And I'm going, I just don't want to put more money into the market. I don't feel comfortable. And a couple of guys on our board of directors for our nonprofit were real estate guys, and they were real successful. They're in California here, and one guy's a developer, another guy bought apartment buildings. And so I'm kind of looking at this, and I'm going, maybe I'll just buy some passive real estate investment, and I researched, found out about turnkey properties. And so, I found good markets that I thought were sort of merging markets and so forth. And I hopped on a plane from Port-au-Prince, flew to Atlanta, flew to Memphis, came back with 3 properties. And the next month, boom, money's appearing in my account. I'm going, this is pretty sweet. This is nice, and I just thought of it as another investment. I didn't really want to do anything with these properties. I just wanted the checks to come in, right?
Yeah.
And I have property managers, so I shouldn't have to do anything. Wow. The reality of turnkey properties just fell on me about 6 months into it. And I go, I had to step in, and tenants, there were vacancies, and tenants weren't being, Anyway, so out of those properties.
I thought the story was going to go in a totally different. Oh no! Bill was down there praying, and everything was working out perfectly for him. And that's the difference. I forgot to get down on my knees and pray.
Yeah, you're right. I think that is totally right. And I just thought it was just going to happen, right? Yeah. And so anyway, I'm looking at these properties. I'm having to step in, get more involved and stuff, and I'm going.
Okay, now hold on a second. Hold on, and I don't know if you want to name names or what have you, but I just kind of want to there are a lot of these guys out there that are selling turnkey programs and turnkey operations, and what did you get involved with a particular guru who did this type of stuff and sold you on it?
No, I am just like one of those freakish guys. I was looking everywhere, for these turnkey. Okay. This was a company that's based in Singapore, so I can't. Wow. I can't. Yeah, that really. All of its clients were, most of them from China, Indonesia, India, places like that. Yeah. So I just linked up with these guys, thinking, hey, these guys, it's got a lot of people that are behind them, and seemed like a real good deal. But it was like I found out that I had these fake tenants.
We call them phantom tenants.
Yes.
Yep.
They came with the house, and I later saw pictures. They didn't even have beds in there.
No, that's exactly it. That's exactly. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you said that. That's where I learned how to look at an apartment and know that the person skipped 3 weeks ago. I can walk into a unit and say, nobody lives here. Don't try to tell me there's somebody on the rent roll. There's nobody that lives here. Right. But you not only the thing about phantom tenants is they do not have phantom trash. The unit is still disgusting. You still got to get in there and clean it out. Right, why can't they have phantom trash too? Gosh.
Well, that was what I was faced with. I had this whole, I had to get rid of the property managers. I just went through this whole deal. Finally got them stabilized, and I'm making money, and it's going pretty good. And I'm looking at them, and I go, bought 3 properties, all about the same price, approximately. Okay. And I had a duplex into single family homes. And both of those were 3 bedroom. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, I'm making twice as much with my duplex. I paid the same money for this thing. I go, okay, duh. That was my sort of my multifamily duh moment. Was well, what if I had 10 units?
Yeah.
I'd only have one property tax payment, one insurance payment, one roof to worry about. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, this is dumb. So I ended up buying a second duplex, and then that's when I kind of said, no, why am I messing with just two? And then that's where I went. Next thing I bought was a 22 unit. But
Good for you.
yeah, so it was like it was this educational process that happened. But what was happening is I was getting, this wasn't just a passive investment anymore. Now I'm really getting into it, and I'm going, okay, why can't this be my job? I mean, I'm having fun. I can set my own hours. I can work when I want. I don't have to, and I could grow this thing. And then a couple of years into it, I said, I'm going to set this goal, 1,000 units in 6 years. And later on, when I met you, I go, this guy's doing it in 5 years. What the heck's wrong with me?
Hey, you're already on the path. I mean, all you got to do in the first year is 20 units. That's all I ask. 20 in the first unit. Now, first year. Now, where did you buy the 20?
Indianapolis.
Oh, okay. All right. Geez, I hear so many, Indianapolis, good, solid, stable market.
It's that slow and steady, solid. Oh,
Absolutely.
man. Yes.
Typical Midwest.
Yes.
Cincinnati, the same thing. The way, you can buy a property in those areas, and if you pay, the right price for it, it's just going to keep spitting off money. The way you make your big appreciation on those types of deals is you got to buy it low in the first year. That's the only way you're going to see any type of equity growth, significant equity growth. So
yeah, and that was the case with this one. Now, the problem is, I had a couple of B properties, but most of them are C's, and this was a C, and in questionable is that a C minus or C.
I can't believe the guy who's lived in Haiti for 10 years is going to start complaining about C-class properties. Come on.
Tell me, it was like the Ritz for me, I'm used to mud huts. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
It's got
exactly. Honey, look at this. Putting
on the Ritz,
Exactly.
So I'm like thinking, this is luxury, and boy, I got educated there too. But that's.
Every broker in Indianapolis must have seen you coming a mile away.
Big time. Oh, big time. Yeah, I had.
Look at. You know what we call the second floor of this one, Bill? The penthouse. Yeah. That's what
No lie. I just one place that did the in Indy that showed me, and it had a penthouse suite. They said, but it was like this scary place. It was kind of like, really scary.
Oh my gosh! Now, let me ask you, how did you find that deal? You're kind of still in Haiti, still kind of making your move back. Where did your wife's parents live? Where were they from?
They were in Florida originally.
Okay. So you're kind of like bopping around.
All of it. Then we moved them we moved them to California, where the other 2 daughters are, who were taking care of them until we got over. Okay. And so we, I found this property in a place that you recommend nobody to go, and that was on LoopNet. Okay. Yes. Okay.
You have been watching my videos, haven't you? Yeah.
Actually, when you're on my show, you got me on that one. But
LoopNet is where deals go to die. Yes.
And so I looked at it, and this is the dumb part, is this thing was on LoopNet for a long time, and I'm looking at it for months and months, and I'm thinking, it's still on there. This is great. I gotta get this. And so finally I get brave enough to submit an LOI, and it's under contract, after like 3 months of waiting.
Why does that always happen? Why?
Yeah.
What if it was like the brokers are trained to say that or something?
I was like, I had cold feet, it was my fault.
Yeah, well, hey, it's your first big
got to move, right? But it was a big thing for me, 22 units, from, these smaller things. So I did something with the broker, which is a little different. And then I just, after he told me he's under contract, I go, fine. I go, and then I hung up, and then I said, why don't I just tell him, who I am, and I'm going to give him my LOI anyway. And if this thing falls through, then what the heck, you know?
Okay, let me just stay for the record here. So what
Yeah.
Bill did is he put in a backup LOI. And
Mhm.
whenever you make an offer, it never hurts you. So make the offer. All right,
And
go ahead.
and
So what
that's what
happened?
happened. That's what happened. And I got 3 months, almost 3 months later, he called me, and the guy that was under contract, their funding fell through. He
Yeah.
said, "Are you still interested?" And I was totally, I was just stoked at that point, and went in there, and and because it had fallen out, I had a little bit of negotiating power. I said, "Well, you
Yeah.
probably, you know, put it at too high a price. Negotiate. I get a great discount on the price." It was about 20% less than what the other person was going to pay. And then after inspection, I was able to knock off some more money. And so, probably around 30, it's like 30% off now, or 35% below what it was originally offered for.
Okay, let me just hold on. You just nailed so many of my lessons. Number one is the biggest lie in multifamily is the asking price. You are now 30% below what they thought the property was worth, and you're probably going to get it for that price.
Right.
The other thing is, like I said, you make an offer, it never hurts you. And then when a property falls out of contract, the knee-jerk response from the broker is the buyer could not perform. When in actuality, it's the property that can perform because the price was too high. The
Right.
price now has to come down. Has to come down.
Right.
So,
Right.
no, all right, keep going. This is a good story.
Yeah, and so I went into it. I did this on my own, no investors, And so what I had is I had these other properties that I'd paid cash for, and they had appreciated significantly. I mean, this is a good time. I was buying like, it's around 2014, so it was like they were starting to, I mean, it was kind of the end of that big, just major appreciation.
But
So they
still,
were.
deals were to be had.
Yeah, and so they were increasing in value. I had all this equity. I said, I'll just borrow against those. They don't have any mortgage on them. I'm going to borrow against those. And this is not a tactic I would say to a lot of other old dogs either, because the more leverage you put on yourself, later in life, it's just, this is not where I would recommend going, But I was
We're
nice.
talking about that. We are going to talk about that when you're done the story. So,
Okay. So that's basically what I did. I borrowed against it. I went in there, and so what I did is I'm asking my local contacts there, are there any local banks you think will fund this? And I'm looking at it, and they said, oh yeah, well, Wells Fargo is really pushing for, multifamily and stuff right now in this area. So I went through this long thing with Wells Fargo. I mean, it was months, and I'm going through the whole process. They know everything. I'm 1099. I'm not a W-2. I'm retired, right? And so I'm not W-2. They got all my stuff. I got great credit, all these other things. But we got through the end of the process, and then they said, no, we can't fund it. I go, why not? They go, well, you're not W-2. Like, you knew that day one. And I was just, oh man, and it's been going months here, and I'm going back and forth, and I'm going to lose this deal if I don't do
let
something.
me ask you something.
Yeah.
Did you put any earnest money down?
Yes, I did.
How much?
Oh, just a couple of $1,000.
Oh, okay. That's not that bad.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was.
But it was hard. When the bank finally came back to you and said, no deal, it was hard, wasn't it?
Oh man, yes, yeah, it was.
Your earnest money
I
was
had to keep I kept doing these extensions, and
unbelievable. Banks are notorious for doing this.
yeah.
And this is why, and I teach my students this, and I'll tell you something. If there's any value, I hope I bring a lot of value to my students, but if there's any value I bring is we have yet to lose an earnest money deposit that went hard. If we're not ready, if we don't have all the yeses, we take the deal out of contract, we keep the money in escrow, and we keep working the deal, but it's no longer obligated. And at that point, 60 days down the road, the seller doesn't want to have to start this process all over again.
Yeah.
And if it's the earnest money deposit that's keeping this thing afloat, then walk away. But if the seller really wants to make this deal happen, don't worry about the earnest money. Let's make the deal happen, and we'll figure everything out. That's the way to handle those situations. So
Yeah, good, really good. I like that, and I think that's a great way to
of course
approach
it's
it.
good, Bill. I'm the
Spoken like an attorney,
yeah, exactly.
But so it's like I'm in the midst of this. It's been going these months, and this guy had just gone through somebody who bailed because of the financing, and so I'm like trying to educate him and let him know, hey, I've got all these other avenues. This was just one that, the rates were good and terms and everything. And, I've got some backups and, so I was able to jump on something, but what I really did is I had to go to much higher interest rate.
Yeah.
It wasn't hard money, but it was like, it's kind of that in between, and it wasn't, so it wasn't the ideal funding that I wanted. And part of the problem too, is I had been, I'm kind of like one of these guys, I was debt free. I had no debts. I didn't even own any credit cards. When I was in the mission field, I didn't have any need for any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So, and, when I was in business, it was different. I had lines of credit and all this stuff, but it had been years, been like 20 years. And
Oh,
so I had to rebuild my credit from scratch in this
okay.
process.
Okay,
And
let's talk about this for a second, because
yeah,
I just sent out an email to everybody on my list about Ed Garrett, who is a phenomenal attorney in Cincinnati who runs Credit Improvers. Okay, so I'm like, okay, I'm like you. I don't have debt. I can't stand debt, and so somebody says, well, and I'm thinking, okay, I might want to buy this big dream house down in Kiowa, and I might need to take out a mortgage. So I'm gonna start looking at my credit. So I started listing all these things. They tell me, well, one of the problems with your credit is that you don't have any credit. You don't have any
you don't
credit.
have any.
I pay cash for everything. Why would I care?
Right.
Bill, I got suckered in and I went out and I got a credit card. Overnight, my credit rating dropped by 50%, 50 points because I got a credit card. What?
Yeah, probably because of the short term of the loan. This like
Yeah,
its credit history is short. Yes, right.
exactly. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. That's what they
It's such
said.
a
They
game.
said,
Yeah.
oh, well, you have very short credit. Like, well, you guys are the ones that told me to go get a credit card.
Yeah, I need to get credit, right? No, it's such
Oh
a
my
it's such a
God.
racket.
It is a racket.
Yeah.
It is a racket.
And so
Yeah.
I had to, if I hadn't done those other refis, I probably would have been really in trouble. But I got those, and I paid like 7.85 for these cash out refis, which was a lot of money. But that I took it because I was trying to move this transaction along, and I ended up paying pretty close to that for the loan I got for this one. So, but in that process, I'm building this credit up, and I'm trying to do all this stuff, and and getting the credit cards and doing other things like that to kind of keep it alive. And then it's weird because I found out that I had a credit card that was still active. It was like an old American Express that was on my credit record. So it showed that long term, like 20 years ago, yeah. So that did help me a little bit, But yeah, so anyway, I got it. I got this, knocked off, a lot of money on it and moved into it. I mean, basically got everything. There's a lot of work to do. There was definitely a lot of rehab and so forth. I had, there were drug dealers. There were a lot of other things that made it, an exciting experience. And that was kind of the, so the next phase of that operation. But once I got it, I was like so excited because I knew it'd be like a stepping stone to, to more. So.
So, a stepping stone to the big time. You're going to Broadway there, young man. Bravo. So how's it been? How has ownership been for you?
Well, it has been it's been an education. It's been a really good education.
Absolutely.
I had just a lot of property managers have always been my issue, and I have a tendency to just maybe trust people really easily, and so I get into this.
There's a difference between you and me. Okay.
Okay.
My mantra is don't trust anybody.
Yeah.
I know that sounds incredibly negative and cynical, but listen, my whole point is get everything in writing. Get everything in writing. Don't if a guy tells you he's going to do something, okay, put it in writing.
Right.
It just changes everything. So yeah. I found out the hard way, Bill. But go on. So it's interesting, and I'll tell you, you got a smaller size property, 1,000 miles away from where you live.
Right.
You know, you need a third party property manager to manage it for you.
Right.
And, you know, the whole concept behind property management, the business matrix for it just doesn't make sense. I mean, if they lose 10 residents of yours, you lose half your revenue. They only lose 5% of what they lost.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's a,
And they've got kind of a losing business model too. And that's the other part of it is you look at it, okay? And especially when you get in apartments, well, like, yeah, I negotiated with them. Yeah, it was like, I was, you know, 6%, 7%, you know, is what they make off of the rents, okay? Which really isn't a lot of money. And so they make their money on the other stuff, okay?
Exactly.
You're going to do a turnaround. You're going to you're going to repair something.
You get a lease commission.
Yeah, you got to come out and unclog a toilet for 500.
And wait until it's Sunday. You can charge it double time. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was learning this in the process, and then at one point I got really, really frustrated. And you know, I'm making money. It's good. I mean, I get a good steady cash flow on this property because I jumped in, and the first thing I did is I started improving common areas, showing people that there's a new sheriff in town, and we're going to make this place a nice place to live. I kicked out, you know, the people that were not doing good things there, and so I did a lot of things, you know, to show them, and I immediately jumped the rents. The rents went up like 15-20% right off the bat. And so
how was the turnover then?
There was I didn't lose a lot of people, believe it or not.
Wow. Yeah, you must have been really low then.
Because I lost a lot of people when I just kicked them out. Half of the people there were like doing some kind of criminal activity. I mean, prostitutes and, you know, I mean, everything, you know. So I did have a lot of empty units.
You're like one of the few people that actually wishes you were back in Haiti. Even the Haitians would have.
Well, I'll tell you, it was Haiti was looking really good about this time. And I got one point where I was just like so frustrated with this property manager, and then I just said, and then he had a family tragedy, and I felt really bad for him because I was about ready to fire him, but then that horrible thing happened with his wife, and I was just going, oh gosh. So I flew out there and I said, I'm going to move into one of these apartments, and I'm going to stay there until this place is rehabbed and it's rented up. And so I moved into one of the apartments for I didn't know how long it would be. It ended up being a month. Okay. And what an education.
Did you offer, I mean, typically a guy like you would probably offer like a 5% discount on rent if everybody showed up for the weekly Bible class.
You know, I was working on that.
I knew you would be. I knew you would be. You evangelist.
You know me too well, you know. Okay. So I, as I'm working there, okay, well, there was just, I mean, this was an education for me. I really got to understand what the neighborhood was about, what the tenants were really about, it was an education I would recommend to anybody.
That you never saw coming when you were dealing with the broker.
Got that.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. And it opened my eyes. I mean, it was a great education for me.
Yeah.
I went into the property manager's office every morning, and I was getting their people. I found out what their cycles were. Like, when's the best time to call them when I know they can act on what I call? When's the best time to meet with them? You know, set up meetings, because I saw what their cycles and their business was like, and it just helped. I knew who really did.
I think just for the record, I think you saw their schedules.
Yes.
It flows a little better than you saw their cycles. That kind of it touched on an area.
Well, actually,
no, I don't want to know.
Not going to go there. No, but it was no. But
nothing hits the editing room floor on that.
Oh, gee!
If it's up here, it's going to hit.
That goes our ministry. I'll tell you, we're in big trouble. But anyway, so that helped me, and then I understood a lot about what, you know, just the whole process. I literally bought one of these little printers. I mean, I had a blow up bed in this room. It was an empty room.
$99 at Walmart. Go on.
Yeah, and I was working in this place. I was rehabbing the kitchen while I'm there, and I have applications here. So as people are coming in, they're filling out the applications. It's like a copier also, this little printer. So I could, you know, copy their IDs, their paychecks, I could have these people approved within, like, you know, 24 hours if I could get
Exactly.
checks, background checks done. But I mean, it was like I had a machine going here, and I was moving, and I had other guys that were rehabbing that knew what they were doing. Actually rehabbing the other parts, and I was watching them. The contractors. These are the guys that were supposed to be working while I was back in California. Well, now they're actually working here and stuff. So yeah, it was a great. I got to walk the neighborhood, and okay, don't take that wrong either. But no, I mean, I got to what really helped me is this thing I ended up calling stealth tenant marketing. Okay, where you're just aggressively, not only learning your community, but you're going out and you're finding, these pockets of ideal tenants. And so what I would do is I'd look for the large employers that are paying, sort of above scale wages. Okay. And I found this one manufacturer is it's got like 300 employees. They make plus size women's clothing. And I went in there. I met with their HR person. I said, look, if any of your people are looking for a place, we're just right down the street. I'm going to give them a month off their rent. I had these little flyers. They let me put them up on their board, and boom, I started getting tenants from this place, and they were good tenants. They're still there. I mean, this was way back when, and they're still with me. And
that's great.
Things like that. Then I walked into CVS's. I went into every place, like close by that had people, and I set up the same kind of deal with them. And that was part. Then I started to work with local groups and agencies. Okay, now agencies can be great. I mean,
were you approved for Section 8 vouchers?
No, and I didn't want Section 8 because
really?
I had those in Memphis, and it was in the process of them. And this is like agencies, okay, are different than Section 8 in that they they don't have like the inspections, for example, you have with Section 8.
Yeah.
They come in and they want you to do, $2,000 of repairs every quarter just to, meet their qualifications. And this was like the agency pays their rent. It's above market rent, and they pay it like clockwork. But there are other situations like people, maybe it's a battered housewife, or sometimes it's somebody that was a policeman that was shot in the line of duty that's recovering, or I mean, there's all these different types. There's some that are high functioning autistic. There's a lot of different categories of people. Some that that maybe they have medication. They may be manic depressive or something, but they're functional, they're not dangerous, and so you have to be careful, and you got to screen them really carefully. But these are great tenants, and so anyway, so I was making contacts and connecting with sort of these funnels that I was creating that would supply tenants for the future.
Okay, two questions. First off, what was the vacancy at its worst?
About 50%.
50.
Yeah, that was right after I bought it, and I cleaned it.
Oh, is that low? So then you started going up from there.
Yeah.
Okay, now when you had to go back there because you had the problem with the property managers, and you actually had to be boots on the ground for a month, where you got to, would you recommend to another new investor coming in that they're probably going to need to do that? They've got to really live and breathe the way you did. Find out what the life cycle of what goes on that property.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, this is what I tell people, and I think you do the same thing too. If you can invest in your own area, your own neighborhood, do it. Don't think about it, just do it. I mean, if it's a good area, the numbers have to work. Okay, it doesn't work in California, so I can't do it here.
Okay, let me just tell you how it doesn't work in California.
Yeah,
so many of my students have sent me stuff from California, and the only way you can get the debt coverage ratio to pencil out to be what the bank wants is when you put 50% down on the property. That's
heavy cash. Yeah. And the people that are doing that, people that are buying apartments here, are coming in with cash.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are just for the full purchase price. I mean, it's like, it's
crazy.
I mean, even if you're a flipper, okay, then a low priced home here for flipping is like 400, 500,000. So you've got to go to the sheriff's, they say the stairs out front, the sheriff's office for the auctions, and you've got to have, cashier's checks in your pocket, at least totaling $500,000 just to flip a house. Yeah. Okay, let alone getting into commercial, in multifamily, So So it's crazy here. Yeah, you're right. If you have the cash, you can make it work. It's tight because the cap rates are so compressed here.
Yeah, yeah.
But and I'm not walking around, with a couple $1 million in my bank account, ready to put on a deal.
Oh, really? I thought you were from California. Oh, okay. I thought everybody from California was rich. Jeez.
I'm too busy fighting drug dealers out in Indianapolis. Okay.
Indianapolis.
So,
What's a nice white boy like you doing that? Gee.
yeah.
My
So
gosh.
yeah, it's a very different. But I would recommend to anybody that does buy out of state. Okay. First off, you definitely got to visit that property multiple times before you really nail it down and buy
Or
it.
even the area. Even the area.
Oh, well, that's what I would go and I'd park my car in the middle of the night, by a park, okay, looking for guys that have their cars parked there in the middle of the night.
No, that did not come out right.
Maybe that sounds totally wrong.
Maybe that will be the first thing that hits the end of your floor, okay? Trying to save your reputation.
As I started to say that, I realized what you're going to do to that statement. Okay, but
oh yeah, of course I am. Don't set me up like that again, okay? That's a softball, we call it. Oh my gosh.
But no, I would drive to neighborhoods. I'd come in the morning when people were going to work, and I'd see how many people are getting in their car and driving off, to work. If nobody's coming out, okay, boom, they're either on fixed income or there's some other issues going on, or they're all self-employed, but
is that what we call them now? Okay.
okay. So yeah, you do all those tricks to try and look at it. You go into the parking lot of the apartment, and you just see what how it is like at different times of the day, and you see who's hanging out there and what kind of exchanges are people having and that kind of thing. So it is you really got to do your homework. But this thing, living in a unit for a month, I think it has all that beat.
Yeah.
I learned more in that process than I ever thought I would have.
I'm telling you, listen, I could not agree with you more. I've done the exact same thing, and it really, it helps you understand the business of multifamily. It absolutely does. So, oh my gosh, Bill, this has been an absolute laugh riot. I mean, believe it or not, we're almost done. I mean,
I'm sorry. I'm talking too much.
I've got to get you on the closing segment in just a moment. So I'm gonna take a break now for a sponsor, and then when we come back, we're gonna play our game. Are you ready to play our game, Bill?
I am totally ready.
Oh my gosh, I can only imagine what you're gonna come up with. I'm afraid. All right, hold on. We'll be right back with this word from our sponsor. All right, Bill, welcome back. And you've had some time to think about where the game is played. The name of the game is Oh Yeah. Well, what about this? Where you start off. Telling me a story about the good, the bad, and the ugly, anything that makes your toes curl, your blood boil in this business since you've been in this business, and then I will say, oh yeah, well, what about this? And then we just see until we have a full winner. Right now, I got to tell you, the Mitch Steven game. That guy had it beat. No one can touch him right now. So you're gonna have to listen to his podcast.
Definitely going to.
Yeah. So let's see if you can beat Mitch. All right. So go ahead, Bill. You're up. Start the game.
Okay. So while I was staying there that month, okay, one of the things I wanted to do, okay, because I had all these drug addicts and people we kicked out and stuff, and so I wanted to create some sort of an atmosphere where policemen would be around. Okay. So I thought, well, I have this empty unit in the basement. I could fix it up, put a coffee machine, put a cot in there, a little desk, these guys could do the reports, and then the cop cars would always be in my parking lot. I'm going, isn't that a good idea? Right.
Yeah.
They could come there, have donuts, and stuff, and they could just come in there and just hang out anytime. I'd give them a key to the place. And anytime they want to park there, this would be great. So I'm trying to, make relationships. And then, so one of the guys says, yeah, well, we're working in your area and we want to kind of take you up, on this thing, but we have a favor to ask you. And I go, what's that? And I go, well, you have an upper unit, it's like on the third level, and it's a corner, and it looks like, it's a vacant, right? And I go, yeah, it is. We're still looking for somebody for it, but it's a vacant unit. And he goes, yeah, we want to do a sting operation, okay? Because there's been a lot of prostitutes in the area, okay? So I go, okay, what does that entail? What is that? And so, because nothing, we just hide up here. We have these, these screens, that we can look out, but people can't look in. And then we put some of our like fake prostitutes out on the street. And I'm going, oh, okay, so you're going to be like busting the Johns, right? You're not necessarily busting the prostitutes, right? And he goes, well, yeah, if we bust the Johns, then they're not going to do business with the girls, and the girls will go away, right? So, okay, I go, great. Until like, I'm trying to fill this place up until they start busting some of my tenants, okay? And these are, okay. And so I'm going, oh man, I go, this is not going well, okay? Okay, so how's that? All
right. That's good. It's like, I thought you were going to tell me something like the, the illegal immigrants that were living in your property, when they saw the cop cars there, they all moved out. Because I had a similar problem. I only wanted to turn one of my properties into a sanctuary property. Just like, okay, like, listen, I don't care what you guys, just leave my people alone. Let them live here. They have the rights. Oh my gosh. So, all right, well, that's a good one. Kind of bad that that the police kind of singled out your property as a site of prostitution going on there, Bill. Well, my God, I mean,
top to top.
I was going to say something like, "Didn't you see the signs?" But then, I mean, you're a minister, for crying out loud. Of course, you're not going to see the signs. Jeez. All right. Well, here's mine, and I might have mentioned this one before. And if those people listen to my podcast, that's great. I had a case where I was having arson on my property. Nonstop. 50% of all arson reports in that city were on my property. What? The guy would go around, guy would go around and burn the cars, and people were moving out as a result of it. They're all living in fear. And we were calling the police, we were calling the arson inspector. Guys, you got to do something about this. I mean, use one of our units, move in. I mean, 50% of this crime is being done within a 10-acre area. Stop it. Come in. And then, no, we're not going to do it. No, we got to do it. After we sold the property and we got out, we found out afterwards that they knew who the arsonist was. And he was a guy who was released from prison and was living in a halfway house 2 blocks down the street. Ooh. And they knew the whole time. I mean, they were just waiting for somebody to die before something would happen. It was unbelievable. So, yeah.
Well, that's pretty tough. That's pretty tough. Okay. All right. I'll try one up on you here.
What do you say about that one?
So while I'm here, okay. All right. I'm doing all these different things, rehabbing, I'm interviewing tenants and stuff. And then I got this nice unit that's like really good. I'm looking for like a professional type person to come in here. And this, while I'm there, this girl.
It sounds like you didn't have to go further than the front street corner.
Okay. So I got an appointment. This girl comes in. She fills out an application, very professional looking and everything. And she's, just sharp. She's got the income. I mean, everything looks like perfect. This is great.
I have no idea. Where's this one going? Where's this one going?
Look at it. So anyway, so these guys, they're in this room. Okay, so the cops are in this room, and they're just like kind of, they'd go in and out. They'd come back. They'd go to the car, drive away. Another guy'd come in or whatever. And so anyway, so I've got this girl, sign the app. Everything looks good. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to start doing the background checks and all that stuff. And this guy, one of the cops, came over and knocked on my door as I'm, getting ready to run all these things. And he goes, hey, how's that going? I go, good. I go, how's it going with you guys? I hope you don't have any more of my tenants.
Don't worry about me. Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, well, what was that girl doing here? And I go, what? Oh, you mean the one the tenant that just came through? And he goes, yeah. And I go, well, she's applying for an apartment. She goes, she's like one of the number one hookers in this community.
And of course, you don't know. Gosh. Oh my God.
So anyway, so I didn't need to do the background check.
And I can just see you talking to the cop. They go, but officer, she's got impeccable credit.
And the tenants love her.
She's so popular.
God.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. I just like what job reference does she put down? Oh, I know, self-employed. Self-employed. Yeah. Okay.
Self-employed, but man, she's got the bucks. You know, she's making like
I know she's making
10
bank.
grand a month or something. There.
Making bank, as my kids say. Oh my gosh, Bill, I'm going to give you the win. I'm going to give you the winner on that one. Well, thank you for playing that. Oh yeah. Well, what about this? So thank you for playing that game. Oh my gosh, Bill Manassero, it has been a blast talking to you.
Same
It is
here,
so
Charles.
much fun. Thank you so much for being on my podcast. You make it a lot of fun to interview guests like yourself. This was a blast. And so, how can people get a hold of you? We got your Old Dogs REI network, and you got a great podcast yourself. Let me see. It's for those of you that want to dial in to Bill. It's Old Dogs DAWGS REINetwork.com. Old Dogs REINetwork.com. That's how you can find Bill. Find out what he's doing. Keep in touch with him. Listen to his podcast, especially. If you're in that age, like we all, like majority of our people, Bill's and mine, and over the age of 50, and looking at that Social Security check as being the only source of income, you don't want that to happen. So you got to get out there, make the leap. Bill did it, and so just get on his network and see how he did it. So Bill, thank you so much. It's so great to see you. I wish you all the best. You're an awesome guy. And it's just you've done wonderful things in life. Bill, you're gonna do great things in life. I mean, that's what my kindergarten teacher told me. That was the last time I ever heard that line. So yeah.
Well, you are doing great things.
I appreciate it. I love what I do. I'm having a blast.
Yes.
All right, man. Good talking with you, and we'll see you around town.
All right, you got
Thanks,
it.
Bill. Bye-bye.